Working through lunch sounds like dedication, but legally, it might be wage theft. Ever wonder if your boss actually owes you money for that sad desk sandwich? Today, I'll explain how lunch break laws work like you're 5 years old. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your skipped lunch is worth. You'll also learn the move your employer hopes you never make, and the one piece of evidence that makes or breaks everything. Quick note before we go. This is legal education, not legal advice. Laws vary by state, so check your local labor board or call your state's Department of Labor. Most calls are free, so there's no reason not to ask. It's 12:15 p.m. on a Tuesday, and your boss drops a stack of files on your desk right as you're grabbing your bag. Can you just eat at your desk today? We need this by 2. You say, sure, so you eat a sad sandwich with one hand and answer emails with the other. And then you do it again Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. 2 full weeks without leaving your desk at lunch. Nobody has said a word about your paycheck, and that's the problem. No adjustment, no extra line item, nothing. Here's where it gets wild, and trust me, this one's going to surprise you. Most employees assume lunch breaks are just a courtesy, a nice thing companies do. You might even feel guilty for wanting one, but that guilt is misplaced. But in most states, your lunch break isn't a favor. It's a legal requirement. And skipping it, especially when your boss asks you to, might be illegal. Here's why federal law matters here, and why it does something that surprises almost everyone. Federal law covers every single worker in the country, and it does something that surprises almost everyone who hears it. It does not require your employer to give you a lunch break. No federal rule says you get 30 minutes for a sandwich. Not one. 0 hours of mandated break time, which sounds completely insane, and honestly, it kind of is. But wait, before your boss prints this out and tapes it to the break room fridge, there's a catch. And it's a big one. Even under federal law, if you work through lunch, your employer has to pay you for it. That's the Fair Labor Standards Act. It doesn't say you're entitled to a break, but it does say your time is your time. If they have you working, they're paying you. That's the rule. So the second your boss asked you to answer emails during lunch, that 30 minutes became paid work time. Not a break. Work. Even if you never left your chair. Even if you barely looked up from your screen. Now here's where your brain might explode a little. If that lunch half hour is paid work time, it also counts toward your 40 hours. Remember how overtime kicks in after 40 hours a week? Right. So if you're skipping a 30-minute lunch every day, that's 2.5 hours of uncounted work time per week. Do that for a year, and you've handed your employer roughly 130 hours of free labor. At $15 an hour, that's almost $2,000. At $20 an hour, that number climbs to $2,600. At $25 an hour, you're looking at over $3,000 quietly disappearing from your paycheck. Your employer isn't just inconsiderate. They're running a very quiet, very profitable system. And it only works because most employees never do this math. But we're not done, because here's where your state law matters even more than federal law. About 30 states have their own break laws that are stricter than federal rules. Some require a true break, completely off the clock. No email, no phone, no thinking about work. And if your employer doesn't give you that break, they owe you a penalty. Some states call it premium pay. California, for example, requires your employer to pay you 1 extra hour of wages for every shift where they denied you your meal break. So if you make $20 an hour in California and your boss skipped your lunch break 5 days this week, that's $100 in penalties. On top of your regular pay. Every week, it keeps happening. Over a full year, that's more than $5,000 in penalties alone, before you even count the unpaid wages underneath. Think of it like a parking meter. Your time is the meter. The moment it runs out and your employer keeps you at that desk, the ticket starts printing automatically. Your payroll software knows. The lawyer who wrote your employee handbook knows, and they still sent you back to your desk with a sandwich and a deadline. That's not an accident. That's a strategy. Here's what that strategy actually looks like from the inside. The HR team runs the numbers. They know most employees won't add up the missed breaks. They know most people feel too nervous to bring it up. They know the complaint process feels confusing and risky. So the plan isn't to break the law loudly. It's to break it quietly, consistently, and bet that you never notice. And across thousands of employees, that bet pays off almost every single time. The legal term for this is wage theft, and it is, statistically, the most common form of theft in the United States. It costs workers more money every year than all robberies, burglaries, and car thefts combined. Studies estimate American workers lose over $50 billion a year to wage theft. Your boss isn't unusual. They're just part of a very large, very quiet pattern. So what do you actually do? Step 1. Start writing it down. This is the most important thing in this video. Every time you work through lunch, write the date, the time, what you were doing, and who asked you to do it. Your phone's Notes app works. A notebook works. Email yourself. It doesn't matter how, it matters that you do. Because without documentation, it's your word against your employer's. With documentation, it's a pattern. Courts and labor boards love patterns. Now, here's the part that makes HR departments genuinely uncomfortable. Step 2. File a wage complaint. This sounds scarier than it is. Your state's Department of Labor has an online form. You describe what happened, you submit it, they investigate. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need to pay a single dollar. And here's something most people don't know. It's illegal for your employer to retaliate against you for filing. If they fire you, demote you, or cut your hours for reporting wage theft, that's a separate violation, and now they owe you even more. Filing that complaint isn't just something you can do. It might be the safest move you make, because your employer's entire strategy depends on you staying quiet. The moment you file, the math changes, and it changes in your favor. Step 3. If the amount is significant, or if your employer is fighting back, talk to an employment attorney. Many work on contingency for wage cases. That means they don't get paid unless you win, so there's literally no cost to making a call. Your employer's lawyers, they get paid either way. Here's one more thing worth knowing. Wage claims have a statute of limitations. That's just a fancy way of saying there's a deadline. Most states give you 2 to 3 years to file a claim for unpaid wages, but some states give you more, and federal law has its own timeline. The point is, the clock is already running. Every week you wait is a week that might fall outside the window. That documentation you're starting today? Date it. Time it. That timestamp is worth money. Let's come back to that Tuesday. You're at your desk. Sad sandwich. 2 o'clock deadline. Your boss is in a meeting, completely unbothered. Here's what's actually happening in that moment. You're working. Your employer is getting labor they haven't paid for. The meter is running. The ticket is printing. The only reason it keeps happening is because you didn't know there was a meter. Now you know. Your skipped lunch isn't a personality conflict with your boss. It's a legal claim. $2,000 in unpaid work time has a form attached to it, a deadline, a remedy, and you now have every single tool you need to use it. The question I want you to sit with is this. How many of your lunch breaks has your boss actually paid for? Drop the number in the comments, because I have a feeling the math is going to surprise you. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to leave a comment on what topic you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching.